Hi, I'm Tamara Holder, and welcome to Sports Court. This week, we're doing something a little different. We're going to debate the week's worst plays ever. And with me in studio is the one and only Jerry Springer. Hi,
Yes.
Jerry.
Well, I've been called the worst play ever, so there you go. The worst show ever, but anyway.
No,
Yes.
no, you're amazing. Speaking of amazing, let's
Yes.
talk about some of these amazing worst plays.
Sure.
So the Broncos kicker Matt Prater was suspended or got a DUI in 2011.
Right.
He got caught drinking,
Yes.
apparently while on vacation. Now it's 2014, 3 years later. Now they've suspended him for 4 games.
Right.
Is this appropriate? 4 games?
Well, that's part of the player union agreement that he was on probation. And part of his sentence, or what they decided would be the punishment for his DUI, was that he had to refrain from drinking for a certain period of time. So he knew it going in.
Okay, but we're talking about drinking. We're not talking about smoking pot or doing heroin or even performance-enhancing drugs.
Well, a DUI is pretty serious.
But,
I mean,
right,
you
3
kill
years ago.
people with a DUI.
True, but he didn't get a DUI this time. He just got caught drinking because the NFL was playing spy. Somehow they got a picture or something.
Well, because that's what they negotiated. I mean, if that, it's the same thing when you're on probation for something. They're much more restrictive. If you commit a crime and the penalty is probation, and you're not supposed to do certain, like let's say they give you a curfew, you have to be home every night at 10 o'clock, is part of your probation. You can't be out on the streets. Well, that's not reasonable for normal people to say you have to be home by 10. But if that's the probation because of what you did, and that's the agreement that they signed with the union, then that's what he agreed to.
So the next topic is that the World Cup is going to be held in Qatar in 2022.
Yes.
A new study came out and said that the temperature, 122 degrees
Yes.
or hotter, is too hot, not for the players, but for the fans.
Yes.
90 minutes. Do you think that they should move it to the winter?
Well, they can't move it to the winter because a lot of the players that participate in the World Cup belong to leagues in their own countries or whatever during the year, and they play during the winter. So they're not available to play in the World Cup in the summer. So that isn't an option. What is an option, though, is they play the games at night when it won't be 122 degrees. That they should do. Of course, they have to be concerned about whether the fans can sit through that, because the reason you have all these great sporting events is for the fans. Right. You don't hold the World Cup in private, and then just the next day there'll be a newspaper announcement which team won. The whole thing is put on so the world can watch.
Do you think that people are going to go all the way to Qatar and sit there in the heat, or maybe be inside, or it's at night,
Yeah.
but they still have to hang out when they don't have tickets to the game?
No, I don't think that'll be a factor. If they know they have to sit out in 122 degrees and watch this, no, a lot of people from countries with more moderate temperatures are going to decide, I'll watch this on television. I'm not going to make the trip.
Right.
But
everything is more moderate than 122 degree heat, though.
I agree. So I think they have to move it to the evening, and my guess is they will. Or they'll dome the stadium.
Well, let's see. Maybe.
Well, that's an idea. Why don't they just dome the stadium? If they've got 8 years to put up a dome.
They're spending, I believe, $65 million on an entire complex. So,
Spend 66.
and I think I don't know if I said million or billion, but I meant billion. $65 billion.
Oh, okay. So
It's a
then
lot.
they could afford to put a roof on.
Correct.
Put a roof on if that's the issue.
Thank you so much for joining us, and be sure to follow Jerry on Twitter @JerrySpringer. I'm Tamara Holder, and Sports Court is adjourned.